Okay, I'd now like to introduce our last Ignite speaker and the last speaker of the Workplace Resiliency event, Chris Prosser. Chris has been an educator for 8 years and is currently the Executive Director of the Literacy Group of Waterloo Region. He immigrated to Canada from the UK with his Canadian wife in 2012. Sorry, Chris, that sounds funny. It sounds like you have multiple wives, and I'm sure you don't. Since then, Chris has worked in the nonprofit sector and works to provide all adults with the literacy skills needed to increase the quality of their lives. Chris has 2 small children and a big dog and lives in Kitchener. Over to you, Chris.
I was determined not to be the first person without the mic, to start without his mic. So tomorrow, you beat me to it. Morning, good morning, everybody. Well, a warm good morning to melt all the snow, I hope. It's a pleasure to speak to everyone out there. 138, I hear, which is fantastic. Just waiting for the PowerPoint to come up so I can speak to it. So I introduce myself. I am Chris Prosser, the Executive Director of the Literacy Group. We are a non-for-profit adult education center. We've been supporting the Waterloo region for over 22 years now. It's been my pleasure to be at the helm for about 5 of those years. And even in 5 of those years, even in those the small amount of years we're there, we've seen some real demand and change and need to meet the needs of the community in the workplace. As I'm sure everyone can vouch for their workplace, for their region, but the Waterloo region is a very dynamic and changing region, pre the pandemic as well, but certainly the pandemic has thrown some challenges at it. We were very lucky, and just a bit of context to this, we were very lucky to get some funding to invest in a workplace program that we have run previously with a number of non-for-profit and community partners to sort of put some meat onto the bones and to develop this piece and as a social enterprise piece. And part of that consultation and work is that we discovered there's a general need for this kind of training. And it's my pleasure today to speak to how this training is, how you can get this training, working through local community partners and seeing us as the experts and really tapping into this area to support your staff and employees to see that return in investment. So throughout these couple of months, we've recognized that, sorry, it's gonna make the screen a bit bigger so I can make sure I'm referring to it. So out of these couple of months, we've really seen that companies are looking to have something new, to offer something different, to stand out for the company, to stand out from the others. I was blown away by a lot of the stories from a lot of consultants and partners that we work with in large for-profit corporate companies. Is that they had a whole day of interviews lined up for many positions they need to fill, and often or not they only got 1 or 2 interviews because interviewees didn't turn up or they were given a better offer. And we generally heard from small companies that it was the larger companies who were able to offer a lot more. And so, there's a lot of positions, a lot of postings out there that are just going unfilled. And they're very interested in seeing what kind of services they can offer to make their postings more approachable. But also they could see that employees were struggling to keep their staff and struggling with turnover. And the term "for now" staff came up a lot. So people in the region were looking for that position in lesser paid frontline manufacturing-based jobs, and they were seeing them as "for now" jobs. And it was really, really very interesting to see how an employer wanted to turn those "for now" into "forever." And we had some great solutions and some great conversations, and ones I'd like to share with you today. So if you could go to the next slide. So we found that the best form that we were going to be using was an assess, delivery, and measure. One of the partners that we originally worked with, TigerCat, they found that the assessment and delivery and measurement using workplace language and comprehension, digital literacy, and numeracy training was a great success. And they had, just to set the tone, just to set the storyline here, is that TigerCat had a number of positions they needed to fill on the manufacturing front line. And they found that opening those positions up to the newcomer community and for the lower skilled and unemployed community was a great idea and they wanted to do that. That was an untapped pool, but they generally found that due to the low skills and low English skills, there was a lot of turnover, there was a lot of mistakes, and it was very costly at the same time. So they wanted to find not a quick fix, but a certainly more efficient way to support that staff as they were coming in. So next slide. So we discovered a system that, sorry, if I could jump to the next slide. I think I put my slides in the wrong way, sorry. We discovered a system where we would support the partner, support the employee. We would go in and we would do a full essential skills and soft skills assessment of the jobs and the roles and the documents and everything that the employee needed to do their job. Everything from initial training to the roles that they needed to do on the job, everything from the communication they needed to read, to the boards they needed to read, to the machines they needed to clock in, everything that they needed to do. And we did an essential skills assessment. So we looked at the skills and the language skills, the comprehension skills, the digital, the numeracy, and the literacy skills they needed to do that job. We then assessed the learner, we assessed the staff member, and we delivered a program that was designed to support them to do the job that they needed to do. If I was to say that we were a language provider, then I would say I would be lying, because it can take up to a year of us. If I wanted to go back to my roots and learn Welsh, I first of all probably have to move to Wales again, but I'd have to be speaking Welsh, learning Welsh, driving around in Wales, which is a nightmare in itself, every day for 5 hours a day before I was even competent enough to work in a Welsh environment. So that was the challenge there. We weren't there to up any language levels. We were there to support them with the skills they needed to do the job. And once that program was run, we do a measurement, a post-assessment, and then we'd support any other recurring training or any feedback that was needed there. So next slide. And we found that from there was an incredible return in investment. We were seeing there that the staff were being, the return in investment there, the staff were having more of an input. They were being more active, proactive. The communication between all the staff members, both new and old, were very engaging. There was less mistakes. It was more of an engaging situation. The training was a lot easier. There was less turnover, and there was also less conflict resolution and also less issues to deal with from time to time. And they're beginning to notice that with the skills that was increasing here, there was also confidence as well that was coming through from these frontline team. And with that confidence, they were beginning to see where their next leaders were, or their next middle management, or their next supervisors were. So it was really positive to see that return. And there was very few occasions where we found that the learners in the group weren't amongst a similar cohort, because they were all in the same boat, and because obviously they had varying levels that we customize our training to. But that group, rather than just coming in and doing their job, they generated that cohort and that relationship between management and employers. Because they were providing this training, they really felt like they were being listened to and supported. Next slide, please. So we can see here just there is that a big part of that I wanted to finish on today, if I may, is that when we had newcomers coming into the role, or low-skilled people coming into the role, we knew that they brought with them additional challenges. So whether that be barriers that they had from outside of the workplace, whether that be barriers they had from home or anything like that, because we were set in a community base, we really had the ability to recognize the challenges that they had, they came to the classroom with, and make and support that, make referrals to other community-based partners such as mental health or the food bank or other areas where they can access free services. Because we found that a lot of the time, the reasons why the employees were late or not turning up or having challenges at workplace was because of other issues happening at home. And we were to be able to provide, we were able to help that because of our positioning, work with the employee and make possible recommendations. So they were getting that training, they were getting that upgrading, and they were also getting that wraparound service. and we really saw some return there. So if I could just finish with the last slide. Big part of it is that, you know, as you invest, or the employees who worked with us really saw a benefit that they were investing in their staff and they were seeing that value return, but they were also living with the fact that they knew that any sort of partnership with us, those funds were going directly back into supporting our free program. Sorry, they were really going back. So the funds that worked with us ran our program, but any sort of other funds were going straight in. So they were recognizing that they were improving our community by working with us in partners, but also as our free programs were beginning to continue to run, we were increasing the skills level in the community so that they could come to us again and again and look for employees, or we could make referrals to employment sector services that we knew we was training these people up to go into that position. And it was very much a good feedback that employees liked to advertise, especially when they were looking for jobs and looking for new people, looking for new staff, is that their company was responsible for supporting the community. So thank you for your time. I very much appreciate it. The program is continuing. We're continuing to do this service, and we're really looking forward to getting out there and meeting the need that this horrible pandemic has brought about.
Well, thank you, Chris, for an excellent and tangible example of how skills upgrading can be brought to workplaces in a contextualized way, and how you can access some additional talent pools and support those talent pools in making a meaningful contribution to the labor market. So thank you very much.